You'll have to excuse my major sunburn. Yesterday I was out promoting the Roller Girls car wash, and we were out with that. But I wanted to show one of my other projects, which is, I guess you could say one of my oldest bike projects that I have and still have. I've had it since about 1993, and it's been an evolving project since then. I was just a teenager back then, and this was my primary source of transportation, and I love it, so I've kept it over the years. But I've got a 1980 Puch Magnum II moped. Now, as you can see, it really doesn't look too much factory anymore. There's a lot of things that have been changed on it. Number one, it's got a disc brake on the front. The wheel also used to be spoke. You can see the head and cylinder don't match, and that's because it's been upgraded to a 70cc kit on there. And I've got a 17mm carb, but I think I'm going to tear all that off and replace it with something that has some nice reed valves. So we're going to go with something nicer. It's got a Biturbo expansion chamber, which also I'm going to be upgrading to something better. But one of the things that people are really interested in is the rear suspension. It doesn't have the normal dual shocks of a Puch Magnum II. That's actually a shock from a Yamaha R6, along with all the linkage that's been adapted to make it work. You can see all under there. So it has a nice ride to it. It really rides well. Got a brand new chain on there. To get that rear shock and linkage in there, the swing arm had to be extended. And it was extended a good about 5-6 inches in the middle here. And it's been cut out, and these pipe material has actually been pressed up inside the swing arm in either direction and then welded on for additional strength. Yeah, it might add a little weight to it. I'm sure that the shock did too, but the ride is going to be so much better than it was before on those awful moped shocks. And when you combine that with 250 pounds of weight on it, you know, that's pretty tough on the little machine. A Puch 5-star wheel in the back with disc brakes. Again, so that's been updated to disc brakes. I got a nice hydraulic line going to both front and rears. And in the interesting part in the front, this is not a Puch set of forks. These forks are actually from, I was told, a CRF50, but they seem entirely too long for a CRF50. Somebody told me they're from a CR80, but they're too short to be a CR80. They're kind of in between, and they were only half an inch shorter than the Puch Magnum II forks, but they're much stiffer, much nicer forks, much more rigid, and they give a much nicer ride quality. And they also had the provisions for that disc brake mount on the front. The clip-ons are from a CBR. I believe it was a 929 or something along the lines of that, but they've been bored out to fit over these forks. They were about 1 millimeter too small, so we got them fitted on there. The brakes and controls are actually from Hayabusa. This is a clutch master cylinder, and this is the front brake master cylinder. They've been worked over so that way they'll operate for the brakes. That way I have a nice setting matched cylinders up there. So it's kind of funny seeing on a about 120-pound bike that makes probably about 7 to 10 horsepower, the braking power of a Hayabusa bolted onto the front. On the tail here, this is a Puch Magnum II seat that has had the foam shaved down on it to give it kind of a sporty, racy look to it. So that's why that's been trimmed down the way it is. The seat's not quite laying down there as it should. This part should be pushed down a little bit more, but I'll fix that later. The kickstand is a little bit short because that rear shock has raised the height of it when it's parked just a little bit. When my weight's on it, though, it's normal. So I'll have to extend the kickstand a little bit to make sure that it fits on there properly. But this is my Puch Magnum II, my 1980 Puch Magnum II, that I've been working on since I was about 16 years old. So I've had this bike about half my life. Imagine that. But this thing's going to be a lot of fun, and I'm sure I'm going to catch some flack for it by some of my sport bike riding friends, especially the guys that like to ride the big bikes, but I can say, hey, it's part Hayabusa. Check it out.